Hey, this is Politics with Laura, and I got a good one for you today. Now, where do I begin? Zelensky, Christine Lagarde, UN, NATO. There's a lot going on. And for some reason, it all pins on Donald Trump's reelection. You can't make this up. You truly can't. Look, pretty soon, Trump is going to be blamed for global warming. Trump is going to be blamed for global warming. It's just fascinating. Now, I've been watching Christine Lagarde for a couple of years when she was the president of the IMF, and now she's the president of European Central Bank. Very powerful woman, and one that you really need to watch. And for some reason, not some reason, I know, she is afraid. No, afraid is too, she's concerned that former President Trump will be reelected. Yes, yes, yes. Zelensky, he wants to continue on with the fighting with Putin. And I find it interesting how he's claiming to be the victim in this situation and how he's claiming to be the non instigator in this situation, but he is framing it as Putin is the instigator of this situation, and Putin is the person that started the war. Not looking at it as he was defending himself from NATO encroaching further on his border when the Warsaw Pact Agreement, and I keep on saying Warsaw Pact Agreement because NATO encroached on all the countries. There was supposed to be a buffer zone, and now you even have Sweden and Finland that are jumping on the side of NATO. Now, Sanna Marin, the Prime Minister of Finland, why? Why did you jump on the side of NATO when you were neutral? Putin gave your country $25 million for a summer home to vacation in. And now you got your constituents all upset. And the young guys are like, you don't have to go to war. You don't have to do this, we do. And they call you all kinds of stupid this, that, and the other. But that's not I digress. I digress. Zelensky. Zelensky. Where do we start? Now, in the news, I thought it was quite interesting that the Estonia Associated Press stated that the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on Thursday ruled out a ceasefire. Nah, I don't need it. No, no ceasefire. As his country fights off Russia's invasion, saying that the Kremlin's forces would use to pause, to rearm, and regroup in order to overwhelm Kyiv's troops. Zelensky, I know, I know that you, I know that you were promised membership with NATO. I know that you were rubbing elbows with Joe Biden. I know that you didn't inherit this. Well, you inherit this mess. You didn't cause it, but you inherited it due to the previous president that was, you know, overthrown. Poroshenko, in my opinion, is a level headed man. He was sort of overthrown by Nikki Nuland. I keep on saying, I'm sorry, Victoria Nuland. I keep on talking about Victoria Nuland. Hunter Biden was up to his eyeballs in this. And so that you, Zelensky, are an asset of the United States and do the will of what the United States wants. If Biden says, do not stop fighting, you're not going to stop fighting. You're not, because you want that NATO status. It's not going to happen. Not until you get your country turned around. And just because you went and arrested Igor Kolomoisky, I like that name. That name is too much. Igor Kolomoisky, you arrested him after he funded you, backed you to help you become president, to turn around and to X him out. And then have Joe Biden seize all his stuff in New York. I mean, it is too much. But again, I digress again. Where is it at? But here, a pause in the Ukrainian battlefield would not mean pause in the war. Zelensky said during the visit to Estonia, a pause would play into Russia's hands and might crush us forward. Limited ceasefires have occasionally been proposed since Russia launched its full-scale war in February of 2022, but has never taken hold. I see. No. Putin did not come in a full-scale war. No. Partial. If Putin were to really do a full-scale war, he would have pushed everything back to Germany. Just my thought. I can't prove it. It's just something that I believe. Putin has so many, has more, if not as much, how can I say, if not has more weapons of mass destruction than the United States. Equal. Can easily cancel it. We could cancel each other out with no problem. But Putin is still holding up the Minsk Act or the Minsk Treaty. He's still holding up to it, but not the United States. Okay, both sides are scrambling to replenish their weapons after 22 months of fighting and are facing the prospects of protracted conflict. With roughly 1,500 kilometers or 930 miles frontline during mostly static during winter. They both require artillery shells, missiles, and drones to enable long-range strikes, which is really interesting because Zelensky was able to send a drone all the way to Moscow. And I believe Moscow is about 3 hours away from the most inner part or the part towards Russia. Straight up the line. Now, as Zelensky said, Moscow is receiving artillery shells and missiles from North Korea and drones from Iran. On January 4th, the White House cited the U.S. intelligence officials are saying that Russia acquired ballistic missiles from North Korea and seeking them from Iran. It's quite interesting because they say, and it said that North Korea has nothing. North Korea, I'm not going to get into North Korea, but it's quite interesting how North Korea has all of these advancements, has nuclear weapons, has a bunch of other things, but that's a poor country and they can't feed their people. Could that be propaganda? Could the U.S. media be leading us astray? Running amok on us? It wouldn't surprise me at all. But Zelensky said in Estonia that capital of Tallinn as a part of the 2-day swing through the Baltic countries, which has been among the Ukraine's staunchest supporters. And they have. They most definitely have. Estonia, oh my goodness, Latvia, Lithuania, they all are pro-Ukrainian. But the interesting part is Belarus, right there in that area, is pro-Putin. Okay, we met the Prime Minister Kaja Kallas, who gave him a shirt with Estonia words. Keshete. I don't know what that means. Okay, I can't pronounce it, but the will to defend, printed on the front of Zelensky, which Zelensky wore as to address the parliament. Interesting. Now, within this, I would be remiss. It goes on, but I would be remiss to say that Hungary, Vladimir Zelensky could be poised to soon meet with the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, as Hungary continues to block the EU aid earmarked for Kyiv. I find that quite interesting because Hungary left NATO because they didn't like the direction NATO was going in. They're like, I'm out. I'm done. You want me to bring or allow things into my country that is completely culturally unacceptable, because Hungary did not want LGBTQ in the country. It's a Muslim country. And because he said no, you had heads of state gaslighting him. He said, bye-bye. And because of that, look, keeping the European Union, I'm sorry, not the NATO, I'm sorry, European Union, forgive me for that, to pave the way for a potential meeting between the two leaders, the Ukrainian Prime Minister, Dmytro Kuleba, and the Hungarian counterpart, Pete Sojerato, I'm messing up his name, please forgive me, are set to meet in the western Ukrainian city, Ashhorod, in January, the latter part of this month. Both sides on Thursday. So hopefully something can come of it, but Zelensky is going to keep ahead with this war, even that there are certain countries that are blocking it, saying, nah, no, this got to stop. This has to stop before it gets worse. So here, the Ukraine, or Zelensky, has been fighting off Putin's invasion since February 2022, and a new European Union aid program worth 55 billion euros, or $55 billion for the next 4 years was supposed to have been agreed last December. Keep in mind, the European Union has no money. They don't have enough. So that resources will not be directed towards Zelensky. No, it's going to Gaza. It's going to be a mess over there in Zelensky. Zelensky, I know you'll never see my video. I know you won't. I'm going to say it again. You should have listened to Prime Minister Bennett when he told you to negotiate and to stop letting your people be terminated. You ignored him. But Orban, who maintains good relations with Vladimir Putin, vetoed the plan, calling into question the usefulness of the funds and stating that the European Union had wrongly frozen funds earmarked for his country. Interesting. And what's even more interesting is how now there's a lot of money that is not going into the EU. Putin's still a part of the EU, even though they're trying to get him out, silence his vote. They're trying to do all those things. It's a mess. If no solution is found with Hungary in the next coming weeks, the European Union member states intends to act as a group of 26. But he's like, I'm gone anyway. The Special Union EU Summit on how to proceed has been announced in February 1st. Brussels hopes Hungary will drop the resistance to avoid further complications. Now, here is the big one. Here's the big one. Because all of this falls on the shoulders of Christine Legarde. She is now the European Central Bank. And whenever you have conflict, you always need money. Always. There's always a banker right there ready to and keep you in debt. Just a thought. Okay, here we go. Here the ECB's or the European Central Bank Lagarde's rate cuts to incur if it is clear inflation has fallen to 2%. Now, her main things are Trump's reelection would threaten Europe, would be a threat for Europe. That's because if he gets reelected, the first thing what he's going to do is take the United States out of NATO. Now, just recently, Congress passed a law to where no sitting president can take the United States out of out of NATO without the consent of Congress. You can't make this stuff up. You truly can't. Lagarde's interest rate is likely to hit a peak. But Legarde cannot say when the rates will go down. Yes, she can, because she manipulates them. Lagarde's likely to cut rates if inflation confirms at 2%. Now, they're going to digital currency, or some people may not know it as it, they may know it as crypto. So when they send all the fiat back, inflation's going to go sky high. They have to burn that money somewhere. Taxes have to go up. Water can cost $10. They have to burn that money through the economy, through the people. Okay, and Legarde plays down the concerns of the Suez Canal and Panama Canals. You play that down? They're vital. The Suez Canal in Egypt, right there, is extremely important. You can't play that down, Miss Legarde. You can't. And to play down the Panama Canal, how are you going to get through these areas like that? You'd have to go all the way down around South America, all the way down, and come all the way up. And then on the other side, you have to go all the way down through Africa, go all the way around to come up. And you're playing that down for what? We're not stupid. But here, January 11th, today, today, Paris. The European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde said on Thursday that the hardest and the worst bit, I find it quite Bitcoin, okay, bit regarding inflation was largely over, and that the interest rates would be cut if CBCs or ECBs had certainly that inflation had fallen down to 2%. Here's the important part. I think the hardest part is behind us, said Legarde, regarding the battle against inflation, adding also, she thought interest rates would reach their highest level. And all this falls on Trump if he gets reelected. It's quite interesting. So, the heads of states and the bankers. That's what it all boils down to. The heads of states and bankers, the kings and the knights, they're fighting. Or the kings and knights and the bankers. It doesn't matter how it goes, it's always going to be heads of state and bankers. And the heads of state are going to be indebted to the bankers. So Christine Lagarde is trying to find a way to swerve past this black swan, but they're creating the black swan. They have to create the black swan in order to bring in the new money. And when I say new money, I mean the new form of money, because paper money is gone. And in fact, Congress just passed a law that if you hold a greenback or a dollar bill, you don't pay taxes on it. Quite interesting. You can buy stuff and not pay taxes on the dollar. But when you go to crypto, that's where they can track everything what you do. It's a mess. It's a complete mess. But what do you think? Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. And most of all, I want to thank you for stopping by.